Welcome back to Wellness Wednesday on All Sides. I'm your host, Ann Fisher. Those who suffer from mental illness no longer are institutionalized at the rates of the mid-20th century, but fewer than half get any treatment and even fewer community support. Next week, the National Alliance on Mental Illness Ohio and the community organization B.r.e.a.d will host a mental health summit to discuss how one model of community and work-based support has found success. For more information about the summit, you can check out our website at wosu.org/allsides for more information. Joining us in the studio is Bev Orazan of B.r.e.a.d. Welcome to the show, Bev.
Thank you.
And also by phone from Cleveland is psychologist and executive director of the Magnolia Clubhouse there, Lori D'Angelo. Welcome to the show, Lori.
Thank you.
Lori, the Clubhouse model is the topic of conversation. At its center is an actual house, right? And participants are called members.
That's right.
Tell us about it.
Well, the Clubhouse model was started in 1948 in New York City by people who were discharged from a psychiatric hospital and wanted to help each other reintegrate and become part of the community and go on with their lives. And over time, they decided to work in partnership with mental health professionals, but they wanted a place to come that was their club, and the focus was on operating the club, bringing in other people that shared having a mental illness, and in doing the work of operating the club and developing relationships, promoting their mental health. And so a main focus was also on helping people get jobs, go on in school, and really get housing and attend to all of the needs of the membership. So there was a community that was created to help people grow and also a bridge to the broader community.
Why does that clubhouse aspect work?
I think because people are, as you mentioned, often not getting any treatment if they have a mental illness. And even when they do, people are very isolated. Treatment generally consists of medication and linkage to benefits and kind of making sure that, people are doing okay in their life, but there's nowhere to go, and there's very rarely a place where people can grow and become rehabilitated in the sense of going on with their lives and really making the most of their potential. So it's very important to have community and not just hanging out, but a productive place where people can see that there's hope for the future.
Can anybody become a member of the club, or do some people not necessarily fit into this sort of a paradigm?
Yes, over the years, this model has been replicated and formalized. So there were standards developed by people that were practicing this work, and there's a training basis and an accreditation process. And so one of the standards is that this model is open to anyone who has a mental illness. There are no restrictions. And so it's available to anyone who wishes to participate.
But there are rules.
There are standards that guide how it operates. There aren't rules in the sense of how people have to behave or anything like that. So,
Bev Orazan, what need do you see for this in Columbus? Why the conversation here? Why now?
We see that about half of the people in Franklin County are ending up in crisis care in hospitals and other kinds of crisis care because they're not getting the care they need. And so we're anxious to increase the access to community-based programs so that people can improve their lives, lead productive lives.
You're listening to Wellness Wednesday on All Sides with Ann Fisher. We're talking about the Clubhouse model for a community for people with mental health issues. They can become members. Anyone can become a member, and they're talking about bringing one to the Columbus area. There is going to be a summit on this issue. For more information about that, you can go to our website at wosu.org/allsides. If you have a question or comment about this model of mental health care, give us a call, 614-292-8513, or email us at allsides@wosu.org. Activities are scheduled around a work-ordered day. Everyone has a job to do. Can you describe that a little bit more, Lori D'Angelo? I'm sorry. Yeah, Lori.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Sure. Everything in the clubhouse is voluntary, and the work is structured on different floors. So there's functions such as preparing the meal every day. We have a very nutritious lunch. People are also working to orient new members and enrolling new members. There's work to take care of the financial operations of the clubhouse. Development fundraising work is shared throughout the clubhouse. We have an in-house news show that we do every day. People are working on that. And the property management, everything you could imagine that would be going on is done in partnership, members and staff. And so people are needed, and they choose what work they want to do, and there's just a expectation that people can contribute and will contribute, and it's a very exciting environment.
Tell us about, to what extent does the location of this clubhouse play a role? Finances, who pays for it?
We're funded primarily through our local alcohol, drug addiction, and mental health services board, a county board, with discretionary dollars. And it's always a challenge. Those dollars are limited and often are shrinking. And the second major source of income for us is private funding, both through United Way, personal donations from individuals, and foundations. So we are working to see if we can, with the administration, to see if we can get government funding through Medicaid for this service so that it can be developed in the state as it is in some other states in our country. And it's actually an international model that is around the world.
Is this a residential thing, or is this something that people go to during the day?
It's right. It's not residential. It's a place that people come during the day. And we are in University Circle in Cleveland, a really great area. It's helpful when clubhouses can be near public transportation, but there are also clubhouses in rural environments where they need to provide transportation to help people get to the club.
Beverly Orzan of B.r.e.a.d, who do you anticipate, who do you expect, who are you inviting to this community summit in Columbus?
Sure. We're inviting community leaders and people already working in the area of mental illness care. Our purpose is to provide education about the Clubhouse model, what it can do, how it works, as well as generate enthusiasm. We think this is going to be a program that's critical in filling the need, the gap in care here in Franklin County.
What are people doing now?
Well, it is not uncommon for people with severe and persistent mental illness to cycle through the emergency departments and emergency crisis care at regular intervals. People get care, they get stabilized, they go back home, and people with severe and persistent mental illness often isolate themselves. So then the cycle starts over again. But what we saw at Magnolia Clubhouse was people who said the program had saved their lives, greatly improved their quality of life because they were involved. People were watching them, paying attention to what was going on with them, and they were part of a community rather than being isolated.
Lori D'Angelo, what does Magnolia Clubhouse look like? What kind of house is it?
Well, we're actually in two turn-of-the-century homes next door to each other, and they're very elegant buildings. And
they're pretty big, right?
They're quite big, mm-hmm. And we're in a capital campaign to build a structure to join the two homes and to put in an elevator so that we'll have the maximum amount of capacity that we can have here to have more folks join us.
And what kinds of, when we talk about the kind of mental health issues that would inspire people to join a club like this, what are we talking about?
What kind of diagnosis do people have?
Yeah.
The majority of people have a diagnosis in the schizophrenia spectrum, and the second largest group is people with bipolar disorder or severe depression.
Catherine in Worthington, you're on the air. Hi, Catherine.
Hello.
Hi, you're on the air.
Hi. I was hoping that one of your guests might be able to offer or lend insight as to how the partnership between, I guess it's in the Cleveland area, the Alcohol and Drug Board, do they work with the Housing Board or the Homeless the shelters at all?
Okay. Good question. Lori D'Angelo?
We have an agency that is specifically focused on people that are homeless and mentally ill, and that is funded by the Alcohol, Drug Addiction, and Mental Health Services Board. And then there's various housing groups, and some of the adult care facilities are coordinated to some degree through the Alcohol, Drug Addiction, and Mental Health Services Board.
Are there other clubhouses like Magnolia in the state of Ohio?
There is one clubhouse in Dayton, Ohio. It's a few years old, and it's under the Goodwill Easter Seals organization there. And they are working to grow, and they are actually creating a new space that they're going to move into this fall. So we were real excited for that to happen. There's been interest across the state, but it's been a difficult model to fund because there is no, at this point, government funding for it.
Why are some states funding it and others not? What's the difference?
A lot of it is about advocacy and people understanding what the model is. It's often come to the attention of state departments of mental health through families, and or the State Department, came to know of the model and decided they were going to fund it directly. That's happened in Massachusetts. So it's a process of continuing to get the word out, which we're trying to do. And we do have a research base. We are in SAMHSA, which is the Substance Abuse and Mental Health Services Administration of the National Institute of Mental Health. They have a national registry of evidence-based practices and programs, and this model is included in that. So the research shows that members of clubhouses have higher rates of employment and of a higher quality of life, more social connections, lower rates of hospitalization and incarceration.
Yeah, how have they studied that? How have they made those measurements?
Different research projects, and there's been quite a few, and a very large randomized control study about employment in particular is one of the most major pieces of research for the model.
Beverly Orzan, what I asked earlier, but I'm wondering, what are people doing now? I mean, are there other places people go?
There are places that about half the people get care, but again, there are 44,000 people in Franklin County with severe adults.
With a sort of diagnosis
yes,
that would...
But only about half of them are getting the care that they need. So they're in their homes. If they're lucky enough to have a home or apartment, they're isolated there between crisis interventions usually. Or they're the people who are getting care are in other good programs that we have in Franklin County. They're just not enough. We have a big gap to fill.
Mm-hmm. And is what you're doing in Cleveland, Lori D'Angelo, enough for even the Cleveland area? Could there be more?
There definitely could be more. This could be a mainstay service in this mental health system. We serve about 350 people a year, and you can understand the incidence of severe mental illness is estimated in general to be about 8%. So in an area of 500,000 to 1 million people, there are many people that could benefit from this that we're not reaching.
Once somebody becomes a member, is it typical that they stay a member? These are not necessarily mental illnesses that go away. So do they just stay a member, or how does that work?
The opportunity, and this again is a standard, is a lifelong opportunity,
okay.
So people never have to fear that they lose it. But it's up to each person, obviously, how much they engage. And when folks are working more in the community, they are coming less often, but they know that there's always a network here for them. And we have evening and weekend hours and are open on holidays for just that purpose.
And how many staff work there?
Right now we have 12.
That are on at all times or that shift?
Yeah. No, it's a day shift, and then we have some evening and weekend hours.
Okay. Well, Lori D'Angelo, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate the opportunity.
And Beverly Orzan, thank you as well.
It's a great opportunity. We're looking forward to improving our community. Thank you.
Lori D'Angelo, she's executive director of the Magnolia Clubhouse in Cleveland. And here with me in the studio, Beverly Orzan. She is co-chair of B.r.e.a.d's Mental Health Committee. Coming up, the National Alliance on Mental Illness Ohio and B.r.e.a.d will host a mental health summit to discuss how the Clubhouse model of community and work-based support has found success. For more information about that summit, you can go to the link on our website at wosu.org/allsides. Assistant producer Rachel Quimby produced this program today. Thanks to you, and thanks to everybody who listened. This is Wellness Wednesday on All Sides with Ann Fisher on 89.7 NPR News.